everybody for letting us know a little bit more about who you are. I know today I can use some extra deep breaths. So as we start today, let's all just take a couple breaths together. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay. How many people in here have things on their to-do list and you get your to-do list done every single day? Every single day, there's nothing left? Nobody? Okay, that means everybody's hand needs to go up for this next question. How many of you have something on your to-do list that you don't get done? Once a week, twice a week? Keep your hands up if one of those things is marketing. Posting more, talking to more people, getting your name out there more. Right? So I have been working with entrepreneurs for over 7 years. A lot of them are solo business owners, or maybe they have a small team, 3 people on the team. This means that one person is responsible for so many jobs, right? When you build a business, you quit your job to have 10. Marketing usually makes up a few of those. And what I really like to do is help you shed your shoulds. You don't need to post all the time, every single day. We don't need to be showing up everywhere, going to every single event. I want us to shed the shoulds and actually do things that are gonna move the needle. I'm Teresa Stastny. I am the founder of Sleeked Marketing, and I have a podcast. Thank you for mentioning it, the Becoming Obsessed podcast, where I focus on what it takes to live a good life and shed your shoulds, not just in business, but in your life. Because I don't know about you, I did not get into business to work 24/7, and I'm probably not gonna outwork anybody. And so how can I work smarter and actually do things that are gonna move the needle? And that's really what we're gonna get into today, but I have a disclaimer for you. First, I'm gonna give you a black and white strategy, right? It's going to be customized to you, but it's not the only way. It might not even be the right way, but it's a way that works for me and it works for my clients. And it's gonna help you focus on things that actually move the needle forward instead of spinning your wheels doing a little bit of everything that gets you nowhere, right? I want us to really use our energy, our time, our team in a way that is going to move us forward. And it's gonna be simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. We're still gonna have to do hard thinking. I find that hard thinking is some of the hardest work, and it doesn't take all of the time in the world, right? Sometimes it's easier to just keep doing a little bit of something, but not do it super well. So this is gonna be simple, but you're gonna have to think hard. You're gonna have to ask yourself questions, and you're gonna need to get in the mind of your customer. And lastly, today we're not gonna really talk about what to post. We're gonna create the framework in which to post or in which to operate, kind of. I'll give you one tip. This is a 3-part marketing funnel. So first, we need to get people curious, then we need to capture their information, and then we need to connect and follow up with them, right? You might have heard this. I know there's some other marketers in the room. You might have heard this as we need to attract, and then we need to have an opt-in, and then we need to sell, right? There's a lot of ways that we can phrase this, but really it comes down to how do we get somebody to pay attention? How do we get them to care enough to take an action? And then how do we continue to connect with them so we are in front of them when they are ready to buy from us? First, attract, create curiosity. In the marketing world, we love to say attract and get traffic, and it's all a numbers game, right? You can get so many people to your website, to see your social media, and a lot of times we focus on these vanity metrics, and that's really where a lot of the shoulds come from. I should post more, I should go to more networking events, I should do more podcasts, I should be everywhere all the time. And that's really where I see business owners get burnt out, or worse, do nothing and then get no business, make no money, not live the life they're really craving and wanting to live. You can kind of see in the background, it's not really meant for you to be able to read, but the fine small print in the background is all of these ways that you can attract or get in front of people, right? You can do SEO and get people to your website. You can have a podcast. You can have a booth at conferences. You can be a speaker. You can write blogs. You can have social media. You can do list swaps, right? There's so many ways. So what we're going to do today is figure out 1 or 2 ways that you can double down to get in front of the people and create that curiosity with the people that you are going to sell to, that are going to become your community and your people. For some of us, we're B2B, some B2C. So like I said, this is going to be customized to you, but how do I tell a room full of people who sell different stuff to different people how to find their curiosity driver? I have some questions for you that are going to help. So if you have a notebook or get the Notes app on your phone, we're going to ask 3 questions after this slide. But I really want you to think about what's going to work for you specifically. This isn't about what you should do, what your competition is doing, or the latest trend, the latest social media app, whatever. I personally have a lot of bottlenecks, and I find that when I try to be something in my business that isn't natural for me, I find a lot of procrastination and I feel like I'm hitting my head against the wall, trying to do things that really don't feel natural to me. And I'm wasting time not doing things instead of following what works for me. I know we have a photographer in the room. I got my start as a photographer, videographer. That was my first business that I tried. And I hated sitting down to edit. I was late on every deadline. And so instead of forcing it to work, because this is what I said I was going to do and this is what I am going to be, I watched for places to pivot where I actually was really good and it worked with my strengths and not being my own bottleneck. So ask yourself, right, when it comes to marketing, we have to do the hard work. I'm not saying it's going to just be easy and come natural all the time, but if you love writing, find ways to use that. If you love speaking, find ways to use that. If you love social media, find ways to use that. What I often find, I coach wedding pros, so photographer, videographer, venue, florists. I often find that a lot of them, especially if they're over the age of like 35, 40, do not love social media, but they feel like they should be there. And so they're trying to post on social media. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Before you can ever be successful posting on social media, you have to like know how to use it and enjoy using it and understand how to use it. And there's such a large gap between where they are and where they need to be to make money on social that I often encourage them not to do it, right? Maybe we do social in a different way, but we don't do social to get your leads. That's not what's going to work for them. And I don't want them to feel like they're failing because it's not working, because it's not within their wheelhouse. When some of us grew up with it and we really get it super intimately and we spend a lot of time there, it's a lot easier for us to be successful there than somebody who hates social media. So now that we're thinking this way, right, we're going to use our strengths. This is where, get your notes, get your pen. First question we're going to ask to figure out where you should be attracting is, what is your goal? If you have an online t-shirt shop, you probably need hundreds or thousands of purchases every single month to hit your goals. If you're like me, you might not need a ton of clients or new clients every single month. My marketing agency, I could take new clients if I want to, but I'm not really in a phase where I'm trying to get new business and I feel that really need to show up everywhere to get new business. But as a photographer, maybe you need 4 or 5 new clients every month, especially if it's weddings, right? How many clients do you need? How many sales do you need? That's going to help dictate where you show up and how you show up. Anybody want to share their answer on how much new business you need a month or how many sales you need a month?
I would say I need 3 new sales a month to meet my goal every month.
Okay, and is that bringing on a new client?
Yeah.
Okay. And are those clients usually for a short period of time or are they kind of on retainer?
I haven't signed a contract, a 6 months contract, so I would say about 8 months is our the normal time we retain clients.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else have a similar or a different answer? Yeah.
I mean, I do photo video part-time, so it doesn't really matter for me, but if I was doing it full-time, I'd probably expect want like 2 to 3 jobs a week.
Yeah.
Depending on the project.
Yeah. So if I want to get 3 new clients a month or maybe 10 new clients a month, right? That's going to maybe dictate how and where I show up, opposed to if I'm trying to get 100 or 1 or have time where I don't need a new client. Okay, now next question, we touched on this on the last slide, but I want you to play to your strengths. So how can you show up consistently? Is that writing? Is it social media? Is it speaking? Is it networking events? You kind of don't like doing anything pre-made, but you're really good at talking to people. How do you enjoy showing up for your business? Anybody want to share? Yeah.
I like doing stuff like this. I just sometimes am like concerned that they don't turn into leads or actual business for me. So I find myself going to a lot of marketing events, but I'm like, I don't know if they're actually doing anything. So that's something when you said, like, what do you like doing and like doing stuff like this to want to turn it. And I also like speaking and like I find myself leaning more towards TikTok and videos than an Instagram like carousel,
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, we're going to get into a little bit more of that, but I actually love what you said at the last bit there. Even when it comes to social media, it can still be showing up on video. Or if you're like, I do not like public speaking at all, I don't even want to do it on a camera, it can be carousels. It can be other types of posts. So that's really even in social media or even in blogs, or maybe you like going to networking events and maybe you love speaking, but you hate the energy it takes to talk to so many people. And maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you hate speaking and love talking to everybody. So even within these areas, there's a way to cater it to what you want to do. The third question is, I want you to be realistic. Our to-do list is so long because we're not realistic about what we can actually get done. And that's because we live in a society where we're constantly consuming what everybody else does. And so Alyssa's posting on social media every day, and Mary's sending an email once a week, and Josh is going to every networking event. And so it feels like Alyssa is doing all of those things when it's just different people doing all of them. And so we put this, even sometimes subconscious, we put this expectation on ourselves to do everything. And then we get burnt out. And like Alyssa said, I'm going to these things and I don't know if it's working, and I'm posting and I don't know if it's working. How do we figure out if it is working so that we can double down? And that's going to be in this next step as well. So we have these 3 questions, and I hope you wrote down your answers. And if you did not write down your answers, I'll give you this slide deck so you can go back and do it, right? So you have these questions or take a screenshot of this. But as we think about that, I want us to think about how we can put these together. So let's say I need 3 new clients a month. And let's say I hate social media, but I like public speaking and I like having conversations. What could we do? I'm a little biased. You could do a podcast tour, right? It's going to be really hard to build an audience yourself if you don't have a lot of time to do it. And so if I need 3 to 10 new people next month, who already has that audience that I can use, I can get in front of and serve their audience to try to convert them into my audience? A podcast tour, a newsletter swap, speaking at a conference that is for those people, right? Or if you're like, I hate speaking and I am cool writing and showing up in that capacity, then how can you maybe do guest blogs or use PR and featured articles? If you ever see somebody and you're like, this person is in Forbes and Business and Time and all these magazines and they're all over the internet, it's not because people are finding them, it's because they're pitching themselves. And so that could be your marketing strategy, right? Again, I'm speaking to people who hate social media. I actually kind of like social media, and we could get into that so much deeper, but so many people struggle there that I want to normalize not using it as your top of market funnel to gain that curiosity, right? Anybody have ideas coming to mind about somewhere that they might want to show up? Maybe you do love social media and you're like, okay, this is how I can show up. Maybe you're interested in doing more speaking or podcast or PR, and maybe you're B2B, right? So you actually don't necessarily need to find, With B2B, sometimes if it's direct sales, you don't actually need people to find you. You can find the name of the person, and your marketing is really focused more on sales and actually getting in front of that one person that you need to, instead of trying to market to everybody and get the right people to you. Yeah.
I think what really resonates with me is focusing on building a relationship rather than the expectation of closing a sale. I think that's what people seek more than just because they know if you're trying to just sell them something. You can provide value and build a genuine relationship with that person. I think it's going to have a greater chance of converting down the road and also getting referrals.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And thank you, Josh, for saying that, because through all of this, how you're showing up, I'm not even talking about selling something to somebody, right? I'm talking about creating curiosity. How do we get somebody to see you and create curiosity enough that they want to see you again? And that's going to lead us into number 2 of our 3-part funnel, which is engage, captivate. How do I get somebody's information from them? I give them value that they cannot say no to. So even if I am, like Alyssa, going to these networking events, how are we actually capturing those people? Because if I'm just getting their business card or just adding them on LinkedIn, it's really hard to track. But if anyone here knows Megan Hale, I got on her newsletter list the first time I met her because she had a really amazing opt-in. It was a tool. It's a calculator. You can calculate your how much money you need to make, right? And because she had this tool, when I met her, she wasn't even like, hey, do my tool. She was like, this is what I do. I even have this resource. And I was like, I want in. I put my hand in the air. I was like, I actually really want to know more about this. The people that you are meeting today want to know more about you. Are you giving them a chance to raise their hand and say, yes, I want to be in your world? That's what Megan did. I put my hand up. I get her newsletters. They're phenomenal. I recommend them, right? So that's number 2. It's easy on social media or your blog to have some type of opt-in. I'll give you value, you give me your email, right? Sometimes we have to try a little bit harder if we're at a speaking engagement or if we're just even in this room at a networking event. And I'm not saying everybody will sign up or engage and want to say, yes, I want to be in your world, but we don't need everybody. And the right people will, but they won't if you don't ask them to. So let's make this a little bit more tangible. What do we actually give them? Give them something so good they can't say no. Or if you're like me, sometimes you just start. Like the podcast is not the greatest freebie in the world, but it's an email sequence. It's a mini email sequence about how to love your life, right? It's just these daily reminders for 5 days. It's not amazing. It's not the best I could do, but it's a place to start. And so if you do not have a way to capture somebody's information, specifically email and phone number, that's what I want us to think about today as part 2 of our funnel. What is it that you can offer somebody to get them into your world, right? Doing social media for real estate, it could be a guide. It could be social media templates. It could be a month calendar of what to actually post so that they're starting to learn and get excited about it. And then maybe they're like, this is too much work, do it for me, right? They're in your world. You're giving them something in exchange for their email so that you can follow up with them, which is going to be part 3 that we'll get to. And if you can't think of any opt-ins, you're like, I don't know what to give. I have no value to give. Well, that's where we have to do the hard thinking, right? You do. I know you do, but we have to think about what it is. Any of these, maybe? Could you create a tool? Tools, I think, are the best one because people come back to them. So not only are they getting your emails, but they're actually, if anybody here is familiar with Neil Patel, I think is his name, now I can't remember, but Ubersuggest. It's an SEO tool. It's the smartest opt-in I've ever seen because I go back to it all the time, right? It's not the most amazing tool, honestly. It's fine, but it's good enough when I'm like a quick search, right? Before I wanted to pay for something and maybe people end up paying for his, but I'm going to it all the time. And so I'm opting into it because it's a tool that I use over and over. It also drives traffic to his website, right? So tools are a great way. Quiz, who doesn't love a BuzzFeed quiz? I don't know if the men in here do, but I know the girlies do. We love a quiz. Email series can be really easy. You have stuff to say. You have 10 paragraphs worth of stuff to say. I know you do. You might have to think hard about it. You might have to go back through some emails you've already sent, some posts you've already created, some conversations you've had. An email series can be 10 paragraphs. Yeah.
So I wanted to start an email series for a while, and I've got emails and stuff from 8 years of doing business. And I'm wondering, after having these emails and not re-engaging a lot of these people for months, years, many years, wedding couples, businesses, stuff like that, part of me feels weird about re-engaging them and being like, hey, I know we haven't talked in a while, but I love taking your family pictures way back when, or, love shooting your wedding 3 years ago. I feel kind of weird about re-engaging, but I know that I shouldn't, and if I can legitimately provide value for them, but it's probably going to be segmented by who can I provide value for my business clients, some for the family clients, and some for weddings. I'm trying to figure that out in my head. Do you have any advice on re-engaging a list that you have never engaged before?
Yes, I have 2 thoughts. First, it does feel weird. Do it anyway. Most things in business feel weird. You got to do it anyway. And with that, most of them won't care. They'll either unsubscribe, they won't respond. Maybe like 0.5% will be like, F off, I don't care. Probably won't happen, but if it does, send it to me, because those are the fun ones to kind of laugh at and be like, it actually happened.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actually re-engaging them, number 3, we'll just go ahead and jump into number 3, we'll come back. Number 3 is having a way to engage them consistently so you don't have to go back to engage them, right? When you're in this position you're in now, you have this list of people. You don't even have to necessarily segment them based on different things. I would say start a newsletter. It can be once a month. It can be once a quarter. Done better best. Best is once a week. But just create that first newsletter that goes out to all of them and let them know, like, hey, I've worked with you and I really loved working with you. I just started this newsletter where I'm going to keep you up to date on what I'm doing, photography, and look at this other cool business I started where I do manifestation retreats, right? Like, it is you they've worked with. It is you they care about. Yes, it was photography. Some of them won't want both content. They can unsubscribe. But to make your time go the furthest, I like incorporating one-to-many, even in a one-to-one service business, right? So you can kind of segment your list if you want to and just send an email to some of them, or you could do one email that goes out to all of them and queue up 3 emails, right? Instead of 3 individual, queue up 3 that go to everybody, and just say that, right? Just literally be like, hey, I've probably never emailed you before, but since we work together, and I really want to share what I'm doing. And share photos that you've done recently. Lead into what it is that you're going to continue to share with them, right? I have some examples here as well of what that could be. But I would say start a newsletter that even if 10% of them are like, yeah, I really want to keep going with this, you now have this list of people that you can sell something else to. When you do, let's say you're doing a holiday special, right? You're like, mini sessions for the holidays, send that out to everybody. Be like, hey, you haven't heard from me in a while, but I'm doing this thing that I thought you might want in on. And I'm sending it to you first because we've worked together before I post it on socials, because I want you to have first dibs, right?
Yeah, I like it. Thank you.
Yeah. It's a lot of ways. There's no wrong ways. There's no right ways, right? It's kind of like, I always say, honestly, send the email like you're talking to a friend or your favorite coworker. It doesn't have to be all this like strict information. I want to go back to this for a second. You were talking about the next step, right? How do I engage them? You've already got them on your list. And if we do have that newsletter, how can we get more people who haven't worked with you yet on that list so that you can sell to them? Anybody have any ideas on this of something they want to create? Or does anyone have a free resource, email opt-in?
What we're trying to figure out, regardless of our positioning, of our product market fit, we are in a space and we've made progress over months. And so one of the things we're going on is gray publishing, gray literature, so like white papers, right? And people love a PDF. I know I do. And by the way, if I got that email from you and I had worked with you and you put it in a conversational tone, I will probably, just let you know. I do it all the time. Also with the people that wrap up the PDFs, I love the PDFs, especially the good one, right? So
Yeah. How do you just make it juicy enough that I'm willing to give you my email for it? Right? I have a 5 email. I'm literally getting people's email to send them 5 emails. Like, it's the silliest thing. And I'm not saying it works the absolute best or it's my absolute best iteration, but it got me started. And yesterday, a stranger I've never met responded to the email and was like, thank you, I needed to hear this. And like, it works. Even if it's a little bit at the beginning, it works. I'm happy to kind of brainstorm these with you. Yeah.
And also in his case, maybe you get like share your photos and give a tutorial, like how to use your smartphone to get these kind of photos. So this is the checklist that you need to do for this illumination. I don't know, big photograph stuff. So you're providing something like a TikTok. Follow me in a day in a photo shooting. So you can like share your story. People love stories. Because everybody's selling at this moment.
Yeah.
So if you smell like sales, you just block.
Yeah.
But if you, everybody loves photos. Everybody wants to take a good picture, and everybody wants to know how to use this powerful camera in your device. So, for example, how to use the new features in the iPhone 16, and just curious, and you are getting the new iPhone attention or the new phone attention, you can like use that because they are knowing something for something new. They want to know about that. So you are providing some tools that they need, something useful. So it could be like.
Yeah. One thing, I have worked with a lot of photographers and especially wedding photographers. 5 best places to take your engagement photos in Omaha. That's one that works really well as a free resource. The key here too is when it is so good, people can't say no to, we actually very secretly use it as a way to qualify and create better clients for us. So for you, right, you have something, you were explaining it to us, it's a little over my head.
that's why we want the paper.
So how do you break it down and then serve it to me in a juicy way? The one PDF that'll help you talk to any tech engineer, right? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm now a co-founder of an app and I'm having to talk to developers and I really don't know how. Like, I'm having to learn that. So if somebody gave me like, here's the top, like, here's one page that's going to help you do that. I'm going to give you my email. I might never open it. I will probably, most of your free resources that you're giving are never actually used. They're never open. That's okay. But if you've now helped me and you have my email and you're sending me emails on the next step connection, then when I am ready to work with you, I'm going to be better prepared to work with you because you've educated me and you've given me insight into how to be a better client. With weddings, a lot of planners or venues will do a budget PDF or a budget spreadsheet, right? It helps your client to know if they can actually afford you or not, right? So it helps the client, it helps the couple understand their actual budget and where their money should be should go, right? How much goes to venue, how much goes to photography, whatever. And then they can actually say like, oh, I can't afford you, or I can afford you, and here's what package I can afford. So you're giving value that actually qualifies them to be a better client for you.
The other side of the coin that I've heard also is like, especially with wedding photography and videography, it's an emotional decision.
Yes.
Why people are making it. So I might not necessarily want to lead them to the logical decision with this budget tracker is going to say that I'm a little bit more expensive and you shouldn't make this jump to my prices compared to other people around town. So that emotional piece. So like, yes, I totally agree with what you're saying, and for a venue it might be different, but like, what's something on the emotional side as well that I could, draw attention to or grab them or, provide value in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, and that is such a great piece of insight to think about when it comes to your couples and your audience. Because I know a few people who actually are super logical and work with super logical couples. That might not be your couple. So again, how do you touch that emotional side? And it might be, I've seen like makeup artists, it's like the week before your wedding guide to look your best or to feel your best. And it's like, okay, make sure you're drinking water and do these things. And it's helping them have that emotion of feeling their best, right? That's part of photos too, is like, we want to look our best. And so what emotion are you selling? And then how can you start to tap into that, right? With my podcast, I'm selling curiosity and wonder. I want us to dream and just think, what if I actually follow my intuition and follow the path and quit the job and move? Like, let's be curious about it and go towards it. And so with my email sequence, it's not that I have the answers, it's that I'm generating these thoughts of like being more curious. And it can be this simple. Like, I'm not telling you to do it perfect. I'm telling you to do something that you can actually capture people's information. This is what I have for people. I'm just like, hey, if you want to get a healthy dose of self-obsession, I created this like a year ago. I don't even actually know what it says anymore, like, to be honest. And here's one of the emails. I'm showing you this. You don't have to read it. I want you to see how small it is. It's not very long. It's not very informative. It's just a nudge for somebody to be curious, because that's what I'm selling. That's the emotion.
They're selling memories.
Careful with that one though, because everybody is selling memories when it comes to photography. And a lot of people, you kind of think you want the memory, right? But as a photographer, videographer, you can differentiate yourself by selling something that's happening now, instead of just the option of a memory. After the wedding, sell the memory, sell the album, sell the physical prints.
It's the experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't want to get so caught up on remembering it that we don't experience it. I've coached wedding pros for like 3-4 years, guys, so I can talk weddings all day. I always joke that I'm in the business of making the industry more expensive, because I'm trying to get people to actually, pay themselves a living wage, and then when I get married, I'm gonna be like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. We've talked a lot about this third step, which is connection. To me, connection, I'm super biased, it says so on the slide, is an email newsletter. I think it's one of the most intimate, best ways to connect with your people. A few years ago, people were like, email's dead. You know who didn't stop using email? Target, Walmart, any of the big companies. If you're in my little industry, Boss Babe, Natalie Ellis, right? The experts never stopped using it. How they used it is different. And I know somebody up here said that people don't want to be sold to. I'm not talking about sales emails. I'm not talking about a photographer saying, hey, do you still want to get on a call? You inquired, do you still want me to do your email? Those are those sales emails. We build those into our system, right? We need some of that, but we also need to lead with that connection. So what is an email that you could actually be sending? And we're gonna get back to kind of your question and dig in a little bit more. How do we create that ongoing connection? There's really 2 questions here, right? If you have a way to do this that is better than email, that works for you, do it. Like I said, I'm not here to tell you the right answer. I'm telling you the simple strategy that I use with my clients that works. And I will not take on a client in my marketing agency unless they have an email newsletter. So if they don't, then that's what I do for them. And if they do have one, I help with some other things. But this is my bread and butter of how I help business owners create ongoing, consistent revenue and not feel like they're always chasing the next client. And it's not a fast burn. It is simple, it is not easy, it's a slow burn, right? Maybe you get 1 email on your list today, and next week you get another 2 or 3, right? There's ways to get more, but I really want us to focus on 1 or 2 strategies that you can actually continue to follow. That's all what Attract, creating that curiosity was. Opt in, right? Now we have people on the list, and let's ask ourselves 2 questions. Realistically, how often can you actually fit this into your schedule to do it? That is okay, but I want us to at least be capturing people's information in a system so that when we have something to sell, we have the audience to sell to. Email is the most intimate way to get in front of people because there is not an algorithm that's blocking it. And they're gonna see your name. They don't have to open it. They don't have to open every email. We want them to see your name over and over and over so that when they say, oh, you know what? Now that I'm a leader, I need some leadership coaching. What was that woman's name? What was her? Oh, the Caslow Group. And they can search their inbox. They don't have to open every email. They don't have to buy every time. I'm talking about the long game. I'm not talking about even building the biggest business we can in year one. Like I said, I'm not here to work the hardest. If you want to be like outwork me, you probably can. I'm here for the long game to live a life I really love as I'm building it. Yeah.
I just want to see what you say about this.
Yeah.
I've had a Hotmail account since 1998. I've had a Gmail account since 2008. My box is almost full. That's also Google Drive, but you see where I'm going with this. I want to love Substack so bad. I try to pay attention to people on Substack because it's more organized than the mess that it was before. And my email is full. I go through and I robo-delete all this stuff that I've already unsubscribed from, and yet I still want his personalized email. Could you speak to that a little bit?
I don't need you to read my emails. I need you to see my name and want to read my emails. So silly, such a shift. And then I go through and I uncheck any of them I actually want to read or any that are from somebody. And then I hit open and all of them open and they go away. And like a few of them I put into this nice little folder that says resources or want to read. And you know how many times I've gone to click on that? Never. I've never gone to it. I literally never have. But I'm seeing these names over and over. The power of this, I was on an email newsletter list for 5-7 years. Bucket List Bombshells. They're entrepreneurs. It's these two women, like 10 years ago, they sold everything, moved to Mexico, started web design businesses, and I got on their list. I never bought anything from them. They sold courses. I don't know what they sold. I never bought anything from them. 1 year ago, after being on their list for 5 years, I gave them $10,000 for a coaching program. And then I did it a second time, right? Because I have built this relationship with them and it was the long game, right? Is it worth having somebody on your list for 5 years and just being consistent for them to pay you $20,000 in a year? I basically gave them, I could have paid my student loans off, and instead I invested in their coaching program. And I'm really happy about it, right? Best $20,000 I've ever given somebody. So did I read all of their newsletters? I probably didn't read many of them, right? Again, I'm talking about how do we collect people's information so we have people to sell to that have already raised their hand and said, yes, I'm interested. I want to be in your world. I might not show up every time. I might never show up, but when I'm ready, you will be there so I can buy from you.
I forgot your name. I'm sorry.
That's okay, Caleb.
Caleb. I have a maybe similar challenge to something that Caleb said of having like two sides of my business. I have the sales consulting where I'm speaking to early stage founders, and then like leadership coaching where I'm talking to people who are new to leadership. And I really struggle with my email of like, what am I saying? Am I speaking to this audience or this audience? Do you have any like ideas of, should I just pick one lane and do it? Should I try to mold them together?
Yeah.
What should I do?
There's no right answer with my clients. One of them has, if you're familiar with Nate Watson in contemporary analysis, he has contemporary analysis that speaks to businesses who need him to build their data or AI solutions. And then he has the Omaha Data Science Academy, which speaks to people who want to take classes to learn the skills, right? There's these two separate groups. You know what they have in common? An interest in tech, data, and AI. And so what we actually do for his newsletter is an industry roundup, right? Every week we put like 3 or 4 articles that are happening. Maybe it's, Llama's newest update, or maybe it's that OpenAI is getting sued by the Times, whatever. It's what is happening. We're also super focused on Omaha and the local data community. And so we put a lot of the happenings and events that are happening in Omaha, right? Not everyone on that list is ever going to be a client. Some of them are not even in data, but they're interested in Nate and what his companies and nonprofit are doing, or I don't think it's a nonprofit, what his companies are doing. I started saying that because I really believe that people buy from people, and the people I love to work with are the people who show up as themselves in their business. They're selling themselves. There's some names you guys might not know. I already said Boss Babe, Natalie Ellis. If you've ever heard the term Boss Babe, it's because there's a company called Boss Babe that got so big that we now use that term like Kleenex. She built a company that has followed her on her journey. In the last 2 years, she became a mom, started another company called CEO Mama, and her audience is followed with her, right? Doesn't mean that's how you have to do it, but that's really where I lean is I want to know you and I'll buy from you, whatever side I fall into. And within that newsletter, you could be super specific and be like, for my new business leaders, and then talk to them. For my corporate, whatever, like for my tech startup, whatever, and talk to them. You could do it like that. It is yours to do how you want, but people want to know you. That's why we're signed up. One of my friends, talk about like somebody who just sells and people will buy from. Her name is Katie Smith, and she owns a company called Dropcap Design. It's web design, and then it turned into branding. And now on Sunday, I leave for a retreat in Mexico or in Costa Rica that she's putting on, right? That's like a business retreat. I don't know. I just want to be in Costa Rica. It's a business wellness retreat. I'm going to do yoga and surf. And yes, there's some business coaching, right? So she has one newsletter. I should have put a photo on here because it's phenomenal. It's called the Sunday Edit. She has a journalism background. And so it literally looks like a newspaper. When you open this email, it's like the Sunday Edit, letter from the editor. And then it's like these different sections. And then she has a personal note. She talks about what she's doing. She talks about the new offers she has coming out, the new resources that she has, what she's listening to, what she's reading. It's really like about her. I care about her opinion and her perspective, but she's building in what she's doing and how I can work with her in this newsletter. I spent a lot of time talking on one side. The other thing, if we are saying, okay, done, better, best, let's get more advanced, let's be more strategic, then you should be using a platform where you can segment your audience. One of my clients, we sell contract templates. And so I have one segment that is wedding pros. They do live events. That's a certain type of business. And then the other side is like B2B branding, web design, social media, SEO, right? So I have a newsletter that goes to everybody, but I also have them segmented so I can just send information to the wedding pros, just send information to the people who are B2B. So even though you might have one newsletter, we still want to segment people based on what they are and what they're interested in, so you can speak to specifically to them as needed. And you could just have two if you want, but like I said, I don't want to spend my whole life working, and that sounds like a lot more work for maybe a little bit of gain in the beginning. So get started and let your people and your market and your business tell you when to split. I love that question. Thank you, Alyssa. Yeah, I didn't really get to this, but different kinds, right? I talked about kind of the personal one, talked about industry roundup. If you are retail, right, think about Target ads, right? Just tell me what you have and make it fun. Make it a lookbook. I mostly follow really small designers when it comes to fashion that are super ethical and sustainable, right? They don't tell me about the people. Well, actually, some of them do tell me about the people who started the company, but they'll show me the lifestyle, the emotion in that email. That lookbook is building this lifestyle and emotion that I want to have. And sometimes they tell me about the influencers that wear their stuff and the lifestyle that they have, right? Because it's still this thing that you want to have. So if you do have a product, there's ways to do it that are not just like, I have these 5 things for sale. We can still make it really engaging and create that desire for a certain emotion. But what I really want you to take away is even if you just do it this week and forget for a year, I want you to have a system to collect the emails. Because even if you start it up in a year, right? You can still email those people because you actually have their name. They've said yes to being in your world. Even if you ghost them for a year, you can come back and talk to them again. Some of them won't remember you, so give them an intro and let them know why you are actually emailing them. Hey, you've been on my list and I've neglected you. What's up? Right? Hey, we work together. With wedding pros, a lot of them do bridal shows and wait like 2 or 3 months to ever do anything with the list they get, right? You can still reach out and be like, hey, I'm emailing you because I was at this thing. If you have a photo of you at the booth, that's even better because now they can see you and be like, oh, I remember meeting you. I remember giving you my email. It's okay. None of us are perfect. I don't want you to feel the stress that you should be doing something all the time. If you are not getting to it, how can we shift the way we're thinking about it? Do stuff you can actually get to and take the rest off your list so you can live your life. Any questions so far on any of this? I know we covered a lot. It's really 3 parts and 3 steps. Create curiosity, captivate and capture their information, and then create a way to connect with them ongoing. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the secret to marketing. I told you we're not gonna talk about what to say, but kind of. The secret to marketing that all marketers know if you're in this room is you don't say 100 things once. You say one thing 100 times. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, like, if you're on my newsletter, I'll just tell you this over and over in different ways, right? I'm not gonna go and tell you 1,000 different things and confuse the messaging. We're gonna talk about social media here for a second as an example. The accounts that I follow, that I wanna keep following, they have a formula that they do over and over and over. There's this one girl, I don't even know her name. Like, don't know her name, don't know her handle. It's something BFF. But what I can tell you is every single post she has, she is sitting in a car, wearing pink, putting on lipstick, and telling me a story about some guy that dated some girl and they're happily ever after, or how he cheated on her and she found out because she crashed a wedding. Like, it's absurd, but it's so entertaining. I know exactly what I'm gonna get. She's selling things subconsciously as she uses this certain makeup and she's getting ready. She's selling that stuff. People are asking and she has links to it, but I know what I'm gonna get from her, so I keep following her. If she all of a sudden starts talking about law, they're like, what the heck is this? If she all of a sudden starts talking about something way off and hasn't trained me for it, I'm probably gonna unfollow because I don't know what I'm gonna get. So we need to be consistent in how we show up. If you are on social media, having a really strong visual that's the same every time is going to help. It's so silly. Wear the same color, have the same background that's really recognizable. But if you do something over and over, your people are going to remember you faster. And if you talk about a similar thing or have a similar formula, it's going to help. Boss Babe, I keep mentioning. It's one of the people I consider a mentor. It's where I've learned so much. They got started because Natalie Ellis got really good at making quotes on Instagram that people would reshare. That was it. It was literally quotes about business and life that people would reshare. And that's how she built her empire in the beginning. Does she do other stuff now? Yes. But in the beginning, she got really, really good at one thing, and then she implemented the next one once that was working. That's really where I want our mindset to be with this. If we're trying to do everything, we're not really going to get really good at something. But if we decide I'm going to get good at this thing, you're not going to be good when you start. But we're going to get better. We're going to spend our energy learning that thing. So, what is the one thing you say 100 times instead of 100 things?
What's the one thing you say 100 times?
Well, it's on, yeah.
Let's see. You always say shed your shoes.
Yeah, personally, I do.
What did she say?
I always say, personally me, I say shed your shoulds. That's part of my brand. Shed your shoulds. And Alyssa's supposed to get a tattoo that says, life is the story you tell yourself. So that's another thing I say a lot. Yeah. But for you, who here can tell me what's the one thing you should be saying to your audience? I mean, I gave you the answer here, but I want to know personally.
I always say that I understand your problem. So I hear you. Another variation of I hear you, not about me, but I hear you.
And what is that you hear? What is that you understand that you can say to somebody before they've kind of...
Say that again.
Yeah, I didn't really understand what that meant. So thank you, Siri.
Well, I was just speaking generally that
Yeah.
the messages that I write is, feeling hurt when someone hears me, and what I try to work with the folks that I reach to. It's a boutique consulting service, but it's more, I try to communicate to them that I have read. I mean, it's not a one to many. It's a more communication thing I'm trying to say, but I think it's that I you know how else to articulate it. I hear you. I understand what your problem is, and I just think about your relational piece before that you're buying something from me not because of who I am, not because of anything else, but it's because I hear you.
Yeah. What I would love is to have that where before anybody, like, I don't know you, but I see this one thing that is making me feel that you see me. So it's not that you're saying, I don't know if anyone went to Central High School. I did. My aunt is an English teacher there, and she always says, show, don't tell. I feel you. I see you. That's telling me. I need you to show me. Shed your shoulds. Being a business owner, you have too much to do. That's me showing you I get it. Instead of just saying, oh, I get it, you're busy. So what is it for you to show me that you get it and you understand? What is that problem that all of your people have that you're like, I see you. This is the problem. This is how you're feeling. That's what I want.
So for me, it's that people feel stuck.
Okay.
They feel stuck on problems that they're trying to solve with time, problems that can't be solved with time or money. My value is I help you get unstuck.
Okay. I love it. You feel stuck? Have you ever watched the Apple TV show Shrinking?
Love it.
Yeah. They talk about being stuck a lot. And it stuck with me. But when there was an episode where they kept talking about being stuck, and I was like, yeah, I get it. That's a good word that we don't see everywhere, but it's a feeling we all kind of feel the same about, right? Going back to weddings. Make your dreams a reality. What does that mean, right? We all kind of are like, we've seen it. It doesn't create an emotion in me, right? Get unstuck. Maybe it's get unstuck from those mindsets. Get unstuck from feeling like you're not going anywhere. Like maybe you add a little bit to it, maybe you don't. But with the wedding example, so often a wedding pro would come into the coaching program and they would have the same language. Making your wedding day perfect. Bringing your perfect day to life. What do you see when I say that? What do you picture? Maybe you don't picture anything because it's not specific enough. Maybe you do picture your own wedding day and where it was perfect or where it wasn't or what you want it to be. What if instead I say, light and airy photos for the madly in love couple? Do you see something else? Maybe that all of us are starting to see a little bit of the same thing. How can we, in really clear, concise words, say the thing that'll make us all kind of see the same thing? That's one of the little advanced tips for you guys that I didn't plan on, but it's show, don't tell. Allow me to see a similar thing so that I know I'm on the same page as you. And what it's going to do is make me feel that sense of belonging. Because now I'm going to say, oh, light and airy photography, that's what I want. Or personally, I'm going to say, that is not what I want. I want dark and moody and dramatic. So you're not for me, which is just as good and powerful as somebody saying, yes, you are for me.
Have you ever heard of StoryBrand?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you use that in your frameworks and all your stuff?
So not specifically, but almost unintentionally, I will say. I don't specifically follow their model, but I know it so well that it is a part of the story I tell, right? So if anybody is not familiar with StoryBrand, they have this roadmap and it helps you to build your business's story. And spoiler alert, it's not about you. It's about your customer. So instead of you being the main character in the movie, you're the wizard that comes along and nudges them to find their own path, right? You are the person, think Disney princesses, where there's always that little animal sidekick that almost like nudges them in the right path, right? Your business is not the hero. Your customer is the hero. Your business is nudging them and helping them get on the right path. And that's StoryBrand's helps you build that narrative.
Super quick on that too.
Yeah.
I would recommend, this is what I was just doing for just clients for freezies. Plug in your website and give a brief description of what you do as a business. Detail a description, product, stuff like that. And then put it in the ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, here's my website. Here's a description of what I do. Maybe even talking about it because I like to talk and faster at doing that than typing. ChatGPT come up with a StoryBrand brand script for me and detail every single piece of it, and then come up with the copy for my new website design. What should my hero text be right as you pop on my website? What are the problems that I solve for my clients? Rewrite those in my language. Even copy and paste all of your social media captions from the last 90 days, a year, whatever. Copy that into a spreadsheet. Say, hey, ChatGPT, learn my brand voice. Now come up and redo my website for me, and you will be blown away. It's really cool.
Yes. I have used a lot of ChatGPT. So if you need a framework on building your brand voice, I've got one of those. It's not in a nice little opt-in for you, but if you, on one of these slides, connect with me, I can get that to you. Do that. Before you do that, ChatGPT doesn't read like websites, but at least when I was doing it, Gemini, Google's AI does. Go to Gemini, put in your website or your Instagram, put in something about your business and ask it what it thinks of you. Ask it who your ideal client is. My favorite game is for a business owner to show me their website and I tell you who you're targeting and you tell me if I'm right. Because you shouldn't have to tell Chat when you're building it to make it better, yes. But you should not have to tell ChatGPT who your person is. It should be able to learn it, right? Like we do tell it and we get better at that. But in the beginning, I want you to see if, and maybe if you're like, I don't know what Gemini is or ChatGPT, blah, 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 what is all that? Yeah, use a friend, phone a friend, family member, show them your website and just be like, hey, will you go to my website and use it? Where do they click? Where did they go? And then ask them like, who do you think I'm targeting? Who do you think would be my client? Do they tell you? Do they know? Right?
What I found even better than ChatGPT is U.com because it mixes Gemini, Llama, ChatGPT 4, all of it for the same price, $20 a month or whatever. They've always got deals going on too, but U.com, and then you can also create creative, new logos and things like that, or just pictures and stuff. Really powerful.
Yeah, Perplexity.ai too is another one that is basically the car, and all of these AIs are the engine, so it can like use different engines, and it's really good for prompting, saving your prompting. I love it. All right, we learned a lot today. Who wants to tell me their big takeaways?
Get the damn email list up.
Yep. Even if you're not perfect about it, I use something called Kit, K-I-T. Used to be ConvertKit. They just did a rebrand, public rebrand that's really fun to watch. But that's what I use for my clients. I think it's depending on your tier, $108 per year, right? But it makes it really easy to create opt-ins and landing pages and segment your audience. But it's also way more user-friendly. And if you're using MailChimp, don't.
Really?
Yeah. Because it used to be great to get started for free. And now they've basically built a paywall on everything. So as you want to use stuff, it's like you have to add more paywalls, but it's not actually the most user-friendly anymore. I just find it to be more convoluted than you need it to be.
What's the name of the little one?
Kit. K-I-T.
That was my question.
Yep. KIT.com. And if you search, if it doesn't come up, like Kit email or search ConvertKit, like you're going to convert somebody, ConvertKit.com, it'll come up as well. Any other takeaways?
I am definitely saying I'm saying 100 things at a time, as opposed to saying one thing 100 times, and not speaking about really the problem that I solve, and definitely not enlisting emotions. And so I have a lot of like work that I'm going to sit and do around what is the one thing I'll say 100 times, and how do I show them, not tell them.
Yes. Yes. And I'm happy to help you do that. Because often it just takes talking through it. It's really hard. That's what I say. Like, it doesn't sound like the hard work, but it's the work we avoid because it's hard thinking. And I have ADHD, so that hard thinking is where I tend to procrastinate the most. So if that's you, you're not alone, but we have to do that hard thinking. And sometimes it's better to do it together. Thank you guys so much for being here and for participating. If you want to get this slide deck, you can just scan this QR code, put your email in. You can be on my list. You can unsubscribe in one click if you don't want to be there and want the slides. And then those are the Instagrams I'm most active. So I would love to continue the conversation and connect with you all.
Yeah, let's thank Teresa again. Thank you so much. This is for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, for taking on